When you stop trying, something changes. Not just in you, but in them too. At first, they might not even notice. They think you're just being quiet, or giving them space. But over time, they begin to feel it, the silence, the absence, the emotional shift. Because when you stop trying, they start to realize what your effort truly meant. The emotional energy shift. Human connection runs on energy. Every call you made, every text you sent, every time you cared, it was emotional energy flowing toward them. And they got used to it. They began to expect your warmth, your reassurance, your attention. They thought it would never end. But the moment you pull that energy back, their emotional reality changes. Suddenly, what felt like comfort becomes emptiness. And what felt like certainty becomes confusion. Why they don't notice until you stop. Here's the truth most people miss. We rarely value something when it's freely given. Psychologically, it's called familiarity bias. The more consistent your effort, the more invisible it becomes. They assume your presence is permanent. They assume your love is endless. And it's only when that energy disappears that the mind begins to crave it. That's when memory and emotion collide. And regret starts to form. The silence they can't ignore. Your silence speaks volumes. It's not the loud kind of silence, not the one filled with anger or punishment. It's quiet, grounded, final. And that's what makes it powerful. It forces the other person to confront the empty space you used to fill. It makes them hear their own echoes, the unanswered messages, the missed chances, the cold distance. In psychology, silence triggers emotional dissonance, that uncomfortable awareness that something is missing. And that something is you. The internal realization. At first, they may resist it. They might blame you, justify their behavior, or pretend they don't care. But inside, they're uneasy. They scroll through old chats. They replay moments in their mind. They start to wonder, when did it change? Why does it feel so quiet now? This is the point where emotional memory becomes stronger than pride. Because your absence isn't just the lack of messages, it's the absence of emotional safety. And that realization hits deeper than words ever could. The power of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stopped loving. It means you finally chose peace over chaos. You stopped explaining yourself to someone who wasn't listening. You stopped pouring into a cup that never poured back. You realized that real connection can't be forced, it must be mutual. And that's where your power lies. In psychology, emotional detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. It's knowing that your self-worth isn't tied to someone else's recognition. What happens next? Eventually, they'll reach out, maybe directly, maybe subtly. They'll try to test the waters. A simple "Hey, how have you been?" But by then, you've already grown. You've healed in silence. You've rebuilt your energy. And now, the balance has shifted. You no longer chase. You no longer explain. You no longer try to convince someone of your value. Because you finally see it yourself. So if you've stopped trying, don't feel guilty. You didn't give up, you simply outgrew the version of yourself that begged for love. Sometimes, silence isn't the end of a connection. It's the beginning of self-respect. And when you stop trying for the wrong person, you finally create space for the right one. Because in the quiet, you find your strength again. Remember, silence doesn't always mean nothing is happening. Sometimes, it's the loudest way the soul says, "I've had enough." If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it.